Good afternoon, guys. So I've got an issue that I want to bring to the group. I think I need to explain it a little bit first. So basically, it is a happy team or person a happy or a productive team or person? So I'll say it again. Is a happy team a productive team? Or is a happy person a productive person? So I mentioned team and people together just because obviously people don't work in isolation, they work in teams. Um, so like you've got, if a person is, let's say, productive or at their most productive in their work, they sometimes it might get to points where there's a lot of work being done, or they're under like a bit of stress, they've got to meet deadlines, there's accountability, and that might not always be the happiest person. The flip side, you've got what could be, I don't know, not all people, what could be a happy person in their job role, but they're not always the most productive person. I'm not saying that's everyone, but that can be the case. You get all the annual leave you want, you get all the time off you want, there's no, stress or, not as many deadlines, that kind of thing. So it's more of a theoretical thing that I'm bringing, just something I've been thinking about while I'm trying to form and create something or a team. It's just that conversation about, okay, well, where's the borderline between almost like happiness and productivity,
Keeping people happy and keeping them productive.
making them as productive as possible, myself included. Yeah, so to take it kind of to the bottom, like I said, you can end up with people that are overstressed. You can end up with people that just aren't happy in the work that they do. Yeah, you might be hitting the deadlines you want to hit, but you might end up with a high staff turnover in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Flip side, I mean, some of this I've discussed already. You end up
Yeah.
almost with an environment, a culture of apathy, where people are happy in the work that they do, but then there's no real urgency to get stuff done
Yeah.
and get it done on time. So yeah, just looking at the balance between those two, and where we
This
should.
one's very much depends on sectors. An investment bank culture is going to be very different from a nursery. If you work in a nursery and it's about keeping people happy and providing a culture of happiness for you and the children, whereas in a bank, it's going to be about results. But I think we are coming to a point, you're right, where there is a very fine balance between the two, and the impact can swing one or the other. Because for us, for example, and to take it to the bottom, you can sometimes feel like you're rewarding not mediocrity, because that's not what it is, but you're rewarding beyond your goals and your desires of what you want to achieve. And you're having to put emotion and happiness, like you're saying, ahead of just what you want to say. And you're leading with keeping everybody happy rather than leading with the business has aims to meet. And so, yeah, it can create frustration. It can create a false sense of security for people who think they're doing better than they are. You get a sense of overimportance for ourselves as well. It's such an easy thing for people to think that they're very important to the role because they've been kept happy. And then it can be tricky then to cultivate the change that is needed to make things go, because people have believed that they're doing well. And so it can be a shock to the system when suddenly you're trying to say, well, this isn't good enough or that needs to change. And so I think it can be very dangerous trying to keep happy. But equally, as you're saying, it can be very dangerous not worrying about that, because that turnover could be so expensive and costly, and you might still not meet your goals.
Yeah, I don't think you said that example of the banking industry and the childcare industry. I think employers should have a responsibility to keep their staff happy. There's a well-being thing that is changing, especially in the last year. The onus on that is completely changing, and your staff, like unhappy staff, and just purely sort of production line type churning stuff out leads to a whole other thing, and there has to sort of be a balance of the two. I don't think a sector can get away with not doing that.
So I'll be even more negative and really go low with this. This is not my opinion, let me just say this.
Yeah,
it's an observation I've had. And so I think there was a point where, and I agree that it's fully been clear that all businesses need to care about what work does to their staff's well-being. i.e. it's the work and tasks I'm giving you negatively affecting your well-being, and that's a big concern. What's happening now is there's a push to balancing your whole life and making sure that you can bring your issues into work. And here's the negative thing I'm about to say, which is quite cold. I had observed before that sometimes when people weren't happy at home, they worked better at work. It was a welcome distraction and they were more focused. And I've seen it in many environments where people are going through devastating things, even myself actually, where you're going through devastating circumstances outside of work. And so you come into work and it's a distraction and you can really focus and channel it. Probably it's not true for everybody. But now I feel like we're losing some of that, because when people have stress outside of work, the first thing that the work or company is trying to do is help alleviate it or make room for that to go away and do their part. And that might
As they should
have a negative consequence. As they should. As they should. But hey, it's that balance thing again. It's, can you, even if you look at stuff like sports, a lot of managers want angry players. They want them to be on the edge. And that's similar in those industries, but it's like, it's not morally fantastic.
So here's the thing I would say about that, before we bring it back up to the top. I think that you can get really good results from people if you kind of ignore that happiness factor and you say, look, you're going to work to your maximum productivity. But the issue is, it's short-lived.
If it's not sustainable.
If it's not sustainable over a long period of time, if you want that productivity over a longer period of time, then you have to factor in the well-being of the person. So what I've always liked to approach these things is, if you want someone to do something and you want them to do it long-term, you have to get them to want to do it long-term. So their happiness has to factor into it. So how do we bring it back up to the top?
I don't know. I always sound like a broken record with this sort of stuff, but it is a balance of the two, and it's a constant. I'm going to put my focus on the productivity because that's what the company needs, and then I'm going to have to focus on the happiness, and then I'm going to have to refocus on productivity, and it's a constant battle between the two things. And that culture that you create in a company can keep people there and keep people happy, and in turn, as a result, make them quite productive. So I don't think that you can, I don't think sustainably, you said it before, you can have one without the other. Happy workers, yeah, great, but you're not doing anything. Well, then the company's not going to exist in a few years. And a completely productive team with zero happiness, that's not going to also work, because people will leave.
And then you're talking about what you just said as the what it does do. So it's knowing what your goals are. Sometimes in a company, you need short-term results. And so you have a short-term audit that's happening. It's not really about your happiness. We need the work done. We need it to happen in a certain way. But if you want to create a culture, a long-term culture, you have to stomach it, have the patience and understand this is more an exercise in leading you to where we want you to go. And some of that involves your happiness, because then, as you said, it's sustainable. And then it's finding the balance. But I think you do need to differentiate short-term, long-term goals. And I think you need to be able to not be extreme in either sense. If you transmit the idea to your staff that their happiness is paramount and that there's not a job to do, then you're going to find yourself with a problem when it's time to pull the reins in. And it's almost like, for me, what helps me, my mentality is that I really want, once you work for me or work with me, you're on my team and I want to work with you. But I'm always conscious that there's someone else out there who could also be part of my team, who might do better than you, which means that they care more about the team as well. And so why don't you, same thing for myself, if there's someone else who's gonna, it's not just who's gonna do a better job, because then you're gonna be ruthless and just keep finding a better person. But if your actions don't show that you want to pull your weight within his team, then there's somebody else that needs the same opportunity that will do. And that makes it fairer in my mind. And similarly, the last thing I'll say before passing this back on again is that if your happiness can't be found here alongside your productivity, then probably you're in the wrong job. And so maybe you need to do something else where you can be happier with the goals of the company aligned.
Are you having that conversation with people?
Sure. I mean, every time we've had to let someone go, when it's been amicable, the conversation tends to be, look, this job requires certain things and you're working hard, but you're not getting a result. Maybe there's something else you could do where for even less work, you'll get more results, and then you end up feeling more satisfied, and you're not creating tension amongst this conversation where we're sitting there thinking, making them happy, they're not doing the work. Or they're productive, but they're not happy. Whereas hopefully you find a team of people where those two things are more aligned than less aligned.
Okay. With all of that being said, I need one reasonable solution which may or may not have been touched on, and one radical solution, which may or may not have been touched on already. So I don't know who wants to do which one.
I mean, I'm going to be reasonable because I think Deola's got that.
Okay.
As it
What's
was.
a radical solution then is to go by your happiness. And you set the tone with your emotion, like while you're
I told
happy,
you.
make people happy. But while you're in a place where you need results, then rather than sacrificing your own mental health, you need to push some of that down and let someone else get these results for you. And then when you're feeling a bit more calm, it'll come more naturally for you to say, hey guys, let's do a social. So if you set the tone, they either follow the tone or they go follow someone else in someone else's company. But you set the pace.
I sense high staff turnover. Jankee, bring us on.
So maybe when you're because you're planning this team, right? So this is in its, even if you're mid-team and you've already got the team, it's in that thought process, in that planning stage of, or whatever the new strategy is, it's to build in that line of happiness. It could even be stuff like, this is your chance to feed back to me, and they get some sort of
like one-to-one
happiness from that. Exactly, they get some sort of say and some like actual input into the things that you're doing, and that builds, one, it's also building your productivity because you're getting your team on board, and two, you're actually creating happiness because people like to be heard, they like to be involved in things that they're going to have to go away and do, especially to own the process or own the team that they're in. So I think you could do both. I think you can, you have to do both, I think. And you can build that in.
Can I add something quick that brings my crazy suggestion and Jankee's doing one together? It's actually not your happiness, it's the ethos of the company. Because that is the merger of how I feel, who's set in the company, and the sum of the different things that are important to the core of the company. And if anyone wants to join the company, they have to align with that ethos. And that's the merger of both of those worlds.
Thanks, guys. I think that's been really helpful. I kind of, not to, I think I got more out of that than I was even hoping to. So,
Oh, you were expecting less?
No. That's kind of what I was trying to avoid saying. Yeah, thanks, Jankee.
So it was productive but unhappy.
It seems like such a murky topic that I'm glad that I was able to get this much stuff out of it. So,
nice.
Good.
All right, guys. Till next time.
Bye.